Hey, this is B from Kongs R Us, and yesterday, I did a quick video about Stern's March Machine Mania and the little controversy that might have happened with one of these scores that was literally out of this world. They had to do something about it. And it was done by this guy named Eric Stone, one of the best pinball players in the world. I talked about how he's ranked with IFPA. In fact, I got a hold of Eric and he said he wanted to talk to me. So this is really cool. So I wanted to bring him on and get his side of the story to be able to give some color to what happened, right? So what is it that he actually found in terms of the Jaws game that got 4.1 trillion points? It's a really cool story. And he was playing in the North American Championship tonight, and then he agreed to come back and talk to me. So I'm going to bring on Eric Stone from Batcave Pinball. If you haven't checked out his channel, definitely reach out and check his channel. We'll talk about it in a second, but here he is. Eric Stone, man, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, cool. All right, so just for folks that may not know you, to my audience, if you can give me just a quick background to kind of who you are as a pinball player, because I pulled up the IFP rankings. You're kind of up there.
Well, you know what's funny? I played pinball since I was 4 years old. All right. The doctors diagnosed me as a very young kid with basically some nervous disorder where I wouldn't have any hand-eye coordination. And so my mom said, you know what? I'm going to buy him a pinball machine. And she figured that my hand-eye coordination would improve. And boy, it really had. And I had been playing since I was 4 years old. I didn't realize that competitive pinball was like a really big thing until about 8 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And so I lost my job. I'm actually a TV meteorologist. So I tell you the weather on TV on the news.
Nice.
And so I was out of work for a couple of years, and I started playing competitive pinball. In 2017, I won the North American Championship and then 2 World Championships the past 4 years. So I'm pretty big into competitive pinball.
A little bit. I mean, these are the IFPA rankings here, and I was looking you up and seeing some other things. And in terms of world pinball rankings on the homepage, you're listed currently as 13 in the entire world. So can you explain how these rankings work? Is this accurate to date? I know Jason just kind of won a match tonight. So can you talk about the rankings and how this fits into like who you are?
Right. And if you click on my name, you'll actually see a different category called rating. So ranking is based on the number of points you get in certain tournaments, okay? And if you play more tournaments and do well, your ranking will be higher. Well, because I'm a meteorologist and I work on the weekends, I don't get to play as many tournaments. But if you look at my rating on the left, it's number 2 in the world.
Wow.
And it bounces between first and second in the world with Jason Zoller. The rating is basically consistency. So the more times you win, the more times you come in the top 4, the top 8, your rating goes up. And so that's really what I pride myself on, because I can't play enough tournaments to get my ranking to number 1. But I was number 1 in rank back in 2020. So at least I did get there.
You did. So you're a former number 1, kind of like in tennis or whatnot, right? So you have that claim that at one point you were the number 1 ranked pinball. That's really awesome. Thanks for, inspiring all the pinball players like myself who's super casual. I was like, yeah, I think I'm the 223,000 something pinball IFPA number. I remember joining my very first pinball tournament. There was 45 players. I got 44th place. And I beat my son, who I dragged with me. So that's how I got started with it. But I've been recently playing in some certain leagues close by, and it's been fun. I think the community is just awesome. So, all right, and what we're about to watch right now is a new community event that Stern put together. So let's just watch this for a second so everybody can get some ideas about what Stern was trying to pull off.
Introducing Insider Connected's biggest quest yet, March Machine Mania. We all know about the mania that usually happens in March, but we are bringing something brand new to the table. We are giving every player across the world a chance to contribute daily to their team during Stern's March Machine Mania. Here's how it works. Playing games with Stern Insider Connected lets you represent your state. So if you log in at Logan Arcade in Chicago, you will be representing Illinois. If you're playing at your home game room in San Diego, you'll be representing California. Anyone playing outside of the United States will be placed on the international team. Here's a simple breakdown on the scoring. Each state and the scores that get added to the total will be determined by adding up the state's average high score of each title. Since we are using average scores, every state regardless of population, will be on a level playing field. Each day, your high score will be added to your state's ongoing total. You can check the standings each day to see where your state finished with the rankings split into divisions. At the end of each week, you'll earn specific badges based on the scores each state put up. No brackets, just leaderboards. In the last week of March, the top teams will compete for the Grand Champion badge. Let's see which state comes out on top in March Machine Mania.
All right, so that was the event itself, the March Machine Mania. First off, this is the first time I've seen Stern try to pull off a community event this size. When you first saw it, what was your first kind of thoughts on the actual event itself?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really know about it at all. So when I stream on Twitch and YouTube, Batcave Pinball, I just try to blow games up.
Yeah.
And one of my friends that helped stream, he was like, "Hey, you know, they're doing this March Madness thing. You gotta, you know, plug in your insider to the game." And apparently, you know, Florida's like 24th out of, you know, the 50 states. And I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, I didn't really think much of it until I started getting these high scores, and it put us in first by 9 times the next place.
Yeah, so here's what happened, and I'll share a little bit about what Eric's talking about. So you stream regularly. Do you stream on Batcave Pinball
Correct.
each week on like on a certain day, like on Tuesdays, or?
Wait, so we try to stream Monday around 7 o'clock at night, but
Okay.
you know, if it's my work schedule or the guy who, you know, owns the Batcave, which is about 120 games in Lakeland, Florida, if he can't be there, then you know we do skip a couple weeks, but we try to do it every Monday.
Nice. So this is you doing some gameplay of a Jaws LE. And again, this was part of the fair gameplay of the March Madness event. So had you played this game much before like this live stream? Or is this something that you kind of were just learning as you just started it?
Yeah, I'd only played a couple games before this live stream. So Stern, when they make pinballs, they have a pro version, and then they have premium and limited edition.
Yep.
And this is a limited edition machine. I had not played this particular limited edition one yet. There's a couple extra things. There's a upper play field on the top left, and some stuff like that. But the scoring is pretty close to the same. But yeah, I've only played a handful of games of Jaws.
So at what point during the game did you realize you were starting to like get close to like scoring billions of points after, like, you know, at a time? So I mean, it was kind of closer to this hour mark where you started kind of figuring out you completed all the bounties. Can you kind of walk us through how you kind of discovered like the high scoring mechanics?
So what happened was the Monday before last, I was playing the first time I ever played this limited edition, and I had like 2 billion points, right? And all of a sudden, my score jumped to like 3.5 billion. And I'm thinking, whoa, what the heck just happened? Like, how did my score jump up so much? And so I noticed that the reel had said 50 million points. So I thought I was getting, you know, every time I spun the wheel like 10 or 15 times, I figured I would just get that 50 million points. So I wanted to see the next week, which was this past Monday, I wanted to see what would happen if I collected all 4 of the bounties and then spun the reel. And it went 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. And I'm like, I wonder how many times I can hit that. I literally spun that reel 3,000 times. I was almost getting 3 billion per spin.
Yeah, that was insane. Once you started building it up, and your control is just insane. When I was starting to watch it once you're getting there. But this is where you start seeing the screen on the top because you have the DMD screen there. It's kind of like, oh, it looks like a glitch, but it's like adding to it. And so did you think there was a bug or something with the game as you were playing it? Did you think it was part of the game? Because that's the big argument, is that people kind of see it look like a glitch, but you were doing this live. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a cheat. You know, some people said, oh, well, that's not real, that's fake. And that's why I stream. I put up a score on Batman 66 a couple of years ago, almost 7 trillion points. It was a 4-hour and 20-minute game. And there was nothing like this where, you know, points were progressively getting crazy high. I knew that Stern probably didn't mean to leave this in, but
Mm-hmm.
it's legitimate for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has the ability to do this if they're
Mm-hmm.
good at pinball. And
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't matter if you're what state you're in, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
This is available to everyone. This wasn't something that only I could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of why when Stern decided to take the score down, and we kind of get to the point where after you scored the 4.1 trillion, um, the next day the scores on the March Madness Insider Connected chart, to your point, it bumped up Florida to, I think, 73 average billion, and everybody else was in like these 14s or 12s. I was like, what is going on with Florida? And then as I was discovering exactly what happened, that's when things started to get a little bit interesting with them taking down the score. So that happened. They made a post on both Twitter and on Facebook. I'll pull it up right now. But what was your initial kind of thought once you found out that your score was taken down? Just kind of walk me through some of the feelings that you kind of had when you
I
saw it.
mean, when I was a kid, I would go to arcades and I would win tickets, right? I would
Mhm.
master games. And I
Mhm.
actually been thrown out of arcades before because I was winning too
Wow.
much and I was winning fair and square. And
Mhm.
it brought me back to my childhood of, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you're doing too good. You know,
Mhm.
we're just going to take your score away. And I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
I spent an hour and a half getting
Mhm.
that score. My
Mhm.
hands were killing me. I wasn't
Mhm.
cheating. It was
Mhm.
streamed. I mean, I did nothing wrong whatsoever. And it's like, it just made it like, it made it seem like this is pointless. This is stupid. Why
Mhm.
would I even try to compete in this March Madness thing when I busted my butt off and there it goes? Oh, yep, you're just going to take it away.
Yeah.
It was almost like a useless stream, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I can definitely feel for that frustration, right? It's because it was something that, to your point, anybody could have legitimately earned. And so I think my point was that I made on my earlier stream is that I believe your store should have at least counted for this week, right? If they were gonna do a bug fix at some point, leave the score because that was it happened, and you proved that it happened. You're one of the few folks that were actually putting up a score in real time, live for anybody to watch and confirm. Because I think my other thought about this tournament is that it doesn't really differentiate between home use and then kind of public space. Because there are ways for home use people. You could take off the glass. You could,
Yep.
if you really wanted to, do all the things. But you did it legitimately. There was documentation. So really nobody could take away the score from you. It does kind of suck that they definitely struck it. And then they made it, in terms of the post there, that it felt like it was sneaky foul play, and they were just kind of using references to March Madness. But I can tell that you felt disappointed. I see your post right here talking about like you feeling disappointed in that piece of it too. So that's unfortunate. Like, have you seen something like this happen in your kind of pinball time?
Um, I've never seen anything like a contest where scores are taken away. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when the Rush pinball machine came out
Mm-hmm.
last year, I streamed it and I
Mm-hmm.
found something called a drum bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when the ball rolls down the right in lane, if you shoot the loop on the left, you get a
Mm-hmm.
drum bonus. The
Mm-hmm.
longer you play your ball, the more the drum bonus goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was getting drum bonus amounts of 2 billion points on one
Yeah.
shot, but you
Wow.
had to play one ball for 25 to 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
without draining. And I
Mm-hmm.
was doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
2 days later, yeah, we're taking that away. So
Yeah.
no, this isn't the first time. And go back, back to your point
Mm-hmm.
of, hey, you could be playing this at home with no
Mm-hmm.
tilt, with the glass off. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, here's the thing. This is meant to be something fun, right? All you're doing is earning a badge. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's monetary, it's not like people are going to cheat to earn a badge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So come
Yeah,
on, just
for
let
bragging
a
rights.
real score stand, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and maybe to that fact, if they're going to be doing something like this in the future, it could encourage people to, document their scores more. Like the transparency in the scoring across all the states. Like you obviously put up a score and then it translated immediately. You're not really seeing other people and how they're scoring and how it impacts the game. And plus, I'm curious about the average score because every game has a different scoring system, so they're not equal across the board. So you should be playing games that score easier than other games like Turtles, right? So there's just definitely strategy if people really wanted to boost their state up. So I would love to see some more transparency on how the scoring works because they mentioned it's a simple average, but it's not quite there. So it's a good idea, but I think the execution, especially with instances like this, kind of give you some questions on the overall credibility of it. It's just kind of like mistake.
Think about this. The average score on Jaws for many states was about 8 or 9 billion points, right? That's a lot. If you play Jaws without doing what I did, the most I ever seen anyone get, including me, was 2 or 3 billion, which means somebody else is doing it. They're just not doing it to the extent that I did it. And I think a lot of people are doing it if it's an average, right? So people are probably getting 50, 100 billion doing that spinner trick that I did. And, you know, but all those scores were okay, right? But the one that I do that gets 4 trillion, no, that was not okay because it's so much higher than what anybody else could have done.
Yeah. Did you see that they had already put together the code update for it?
That, you know what? When I did the Rush drum bonus, it only took them 2 days to update.
It's updated as of today.
Yeah,
it's already updated.
It
so
took
look,
them 3 days. Yep.
As of the 7th today, the thing here is the bounty hunt fixed an issue where scores would score out of control when the bounty hunts would have been completed. So this is the Eric Stone fix right here, that you are out of control bounty hunters. And so it doesn't mention specifically about the spin reels, but that was kind of the qualifier you did. You completed all the bounty hunts, and then that's what really increased your score on the reel side. So it's already been patched currently. But to your point, I'm curious if are you curious about trying it again and seeing what it impacts? Are you kind of done with the game once you score it that high? Like, what's your kind of take on?
I don't know. I'm just going to be disappointed because I had a lot of fun. I mean, when I'm getting 2 billion a spin and I'm spinning that sucker 15 times and I get 30 billion points on one shot, man, I get excited. You know, you can see it in the streams on Batcave. Now it's like, maybe I'll do it just to see what happens. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go crazy on it anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, thanks so much for, taking the time to share your story. So, I mean, just right now tonight, you're playing in the North American Championship. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where you placed and how that experience was?
Yeah. So, basically every state and Canadian province has their tournament in January, and I won Florida. So I got invited to Green Bay, Wisconsin, place called District 82. Awesome place for pinballs. If you or anyone ever come out to Green Bay, you definitely want to check it out. I made it through a few rounds, and then I had to play a guy named Jason Zoller, who is back and forth with Escher Lefkoff, his #1 player in the world. And I wound up losing to Jason. So I came in tied for 5th, which isn't too bad, I guess, out of North America. That's not awful.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, top 5, I mean, any day, right? So that's awesome that you're working that hard. So cool to have you on here and spending some time. Congrats on your 5th place at the North American Championship. I'm sure you're a 2-time world champion. I'm sure that's going to be increasing. You're on the front page of the IFPA, inspiring all folks out there. People ask me all the time now, like, why are you covering pinball so much? It's so expensive. People can't afford to have pinballs in their homes, but I'm encouraging people to just enjoy the game. You can find it anywhere. You can go to places like District 82, use pinballmap.com to play. It's probably the most social arcade experience in this day and age for folks our age, right? Because you're not going out there and there's not like Pac-Man tournaments out there. There's not like classic gaming things anymore. Pinball is really the only kind of real competitive social space that I found. There's leagues, there's tournaments, there's just so many ways to get engaged in any state that I've been at. And so, watching you and hearing kind of what you did, it's inspiring, man. I think a lot of people are hopefully will get more into it. So any kind of last thoughts you want to share? I'll bring up Batcave Pinball one more time so people can check you out.
Yeah, just get out there, whether you want to play competitively or go to a bar, have a drink, and just play some pinball. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah, check out Batcave Pinball on YouTube. Looks like you also have a twitch.tv at Batcave. I know a lot of folks stream there as well. Monday nights, check him out. Eric Stone, one of the best in the world. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
All right, take care.